Blue Jays will try to right the ship tonight in Seattle, Washington, and face the Mariners. It's Game 3 of this 4-game series.
It's an outstanding pitching matchup.
Have you got what it takes? Have you got what it takes?
I think it was pretty awesome. We got to go head-to-head.
The 2-2. Oh, he got him. Spun him around. A slider. And ring him up. Strikeout number 5. He got him swinging. Elevated slider. Finishes Chapman.
1-2. Fastball on the outside corner. Strike 3 called. The brilliant work by Manoah continues.
But he was terrific.
Yes, he was.
Have you got what it takes?
Fastball on a line to right field. Backing up more to the track. Turns around. It's gone! George Springer puts the Blue Jays on top.
Hammered it on its way. This is gone. What a blast. It's a go-ahead 2-run smash. And the Mariners beat the Blue Jays again.
It is back to T-Mobile Park, where Ken Griffey Jr. had so many splendid years. He's immortalized outside the stadium as those who came from north of the border get to see the Blue Jays one more time. Things have not gone well, as you probably know by now, as the Mariners have fashioned a 7-game win streak, 3 of them against the Blue Jays. And the road trip comes to an end today. Thank you so much for joining us here on Blue Jays Central. I'm Jamie Campbell with Ricky Romero and Arden Zwelling. Shane Wright, who was taken 4th overall in the NHL draft by the Seattle Kraken, is going to join us in a few minutes, and we'll find out about his love of baseball, if it exists. Now, here's what's happened since Kevin Gausman took that baseball off the ankle. The Blue Jays, since that day, have won just 1 game. They're averaging slightly over 2 runs per game, and the ERAs of both the starters and the bullpen have not been competitive. That's one of the reasons why they find themselves in this position. Here is Charlie Montoyo trying to explain the situation.
You guys are seeing what I'm seeing. You know, we're putting the ball in play. We're just not getting the big hits, you know, on it in timely fashion. But, you know, I'm not so concerned about our hitting, because we're going to hit. I'm telling you right now, we're going to hit. I just want our pitching to get back in track, and the last 2 days our pitching has done a great job keeping us in games. And if we do that and we're going to hit. We're going to start winning some games. Yeah, we'll go back and find some positives, and today I think there were a lot of positives, and yeah, just got to continue to attack, you know, and sometimes the difference is one pitch, you know, and just got to continue to learn, continue to attack, and just continue to compete, like you said.
My, oh my. Manoah was terrific last night, but the Blue Jays just couldn't support him offensively. Let's take you now to T-Mobile Park, where Hazel May is with Shai Davidi.
Let's see if Max Castillo can get some run support this afternoon, as Castillo gets the nod to pitch in the series finale. Shai Davidi, what are some reasonable expectations for Castillo this afternoon?
Well, I think if the Blue Jays can get 3 innings out of Max Castillo, they would be absolutely thrilled. And you have to keep in mind that it was just Thursday when he had to come into the game and throw 3 innings. The Blue Jays were really hoping to avoid him that night, but things got out of hand in that game. So the Blue Jays get 3 innings from him. They figured they would be set relatively well for the rest of the day. It's going to be a bullpen game, obviously, but the Blue Jays do have an off day tomorrow, so they can empty out the cachet without too much concern. But again, you know, Max Castillo has shown some very good command and ability to be effective. If he can do that for 3 innings, I think he'll give them as good a chance to win today as they can get.
Well, he told us post-game the other day that the key for him is location. He says, when I'm missing my location, things happen, and we don't want to know what things happen there. Kevin Gausman was hopeful that he would make this start after suffering that ankle injury. He threw a bullpen yesterday, and you and I know it really is about recovering in the next day and what happens from here on in. What are his next steps? As Charlie Montoyo said, the next possible target is Tuesday.
Yeah, that is the next date. And he was back in the bullpen today, not throwing, just doing a few drills to get off the mound, trying to build that comfort on that ankle. And really, the Blue Jays are just sort of looking for ways in order to make him as comfortable as possible on that ankle. They've looked at different ways of taping it, some supports that would just allow it to be stabilized and minimize some of the pain that he has to fight through. That's one of the big issues. And, there's also the consideration, is there a chance that he does more damage to it or damages something else in his leg, in his body, because he's making adjustments to protect it? So all those things are in play right now, and, I think they're going to let it play out a little bit and see whether he can get well enough to take them out on Tuesday.
We mentioned run support, and as we've been talking about over the last, few series, the offense has really been struggling. You spoke to hitting coach Guillermo Martinez. What did he say is going on with his hitters?
Really interesting conversation, Hazel. And he really thinks that right now it's just a bit psychological with the Blue Jays, where they understand they're not in the best situation. They've dropped some games that they feel that they should win. That they feel some of the expectations and around the club, and the fact that the starting pitching hasn't been great. They're just consistently coming out of their approach. And one thing the Blue Jays do is measure the types of swing decisions their hitters make based on, are you swinging at the type of pitch that you can do the most damage on? Early in the season in April, they were down at the bottom by the way the Blue Jays measure it. That had pulled them up all the way up to the top through May and much of June, when they were hitting much more effectively, and it slipped back down the past week. So he really believes that's all centered around their desire to do some damage and maybe trying to do too much. And the messaging is essentially, hey, just wait for your pitch, trust for yourself, know who you are, you're going to do well. Just make sure that you're making the right swing decisions at the plate.
Yeah, well, a win, they're hoping to salvage a win in this 4-game series in front of a lot of Blue Jays fans. Jamie, we will see what happens this afternoon as we watch Max Castillo get the ball for the Blue Jays in this 4th and final game here at T-Mobile Park.
Hazel and Shai, thank you. It seems we've been saying that a lot lately. Can they salvage a victory before getting out of town? It happened in Oakland, and now they hope it happens in Seattle. We've seen this from this team before, Arden, being, as you like to say, down on the mat and then having to get up. But we seem to be saying it a lot these days. How does this change?
We've been saying it a lot all season, Jamie. The Blue Jays have been in these spots before. You can go back to May. There was a game against Tampa Bay. The Blue Jays had lost 5 in a row, and they were down late at the Trop. Teoscar Hernandez, Danny Jansen hit late home runs to bring them back into it. Remember the comeback against the Yankees at the end of that series when the Blue Jays had lost 4 or 5. Yankees up 5 in the 7th. Gurriel grand slam. Teoscar 3-run shot. You're going to see another one after this. The Blue Jays, the one that Jamie mentioned, against the Oakland Athletics just this week or last week, really only days ago. Bo Bichette and Matt Chapman getting the Blue Jays off the mat. And we're not even going to show you this one, but maybe my favorite one was against the Chicago White Sox. I was there. It was the day after that 12th inning walk-off, a 4.5-hour game played in 37-degree heat. I was feeling it in the press box. I know the players were feeling it on the field. They lost a complete heartbreaker, came back the next day, 13 hours later, teed off on Lucas Giolito. They pulled themselves off the mat. They showed the resolve. The problem is to keep up being on the mat. You keep getting up off the mat because you're on it, because you're putting yourself in these situations. The Blue Jays can't keep living like this because eventually they're not going to be able to get back up. Look what the Orioles are doing right now, guys. The Blue Jays can't keep having these holes. You like the resolve that they've gotten themselves out of them. The problem is they keep getting themselves into them.
Take us, Ricky, through something you saw in the 5th inning last night that explains essentially why they are, quote unquote, on the mat these days.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're struggling with runners in scoring position right now. And we take it back to last night and that bases loaded jam that they finally got to Robbie Ray, I feel like, and he struggled a little bit with his command, and then he makes good pitches to Matt Chapman, who had a good at bat. It almost seems like the first guy doesn't get it done and the second guy presses a little bit more, and then it just becomes a snowball effect. And right now, when they're pitching, they don't hit. And when they hit, they're not pitching. And it just seems to be an ongoing thing with this team, and they just can't get on the same page, and that's a struggle.
What's really interesting is that none of the regulars seem to be in any kind of a prolonged slump right now. Consider, for example, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as we look at the lineup for the Blue Jays in this one. He's hitting .304 on this road trip, but he's only driven in a single run. It's a case where they seem to be getting their hits, but just not at the right time. And one can only chalk that up to being baseball, one guesses. As here is the lineup for the Blue Jays as they finish up this road trip. As for Seattle, their lineup is brought to you by Bet365, and it has been awfully productive, especially at the top. Though Ty France, quite a hitter, hitting .310 with a .384 on base over the course of the season, just 2 for 12 in the series without an RBI. As you take a look at Seattle's lineup for Game 4, and they certainly hope to sweep. That's brought to you by Bet365. As you would expect, tremendous support for the Blue Jays at T-Mobile Park in Seattle will continue toward first pitch on a Sunday. Stay with us.